a police raid is taking place in Phoenix as officers search for guns and ammunition that might have been used in killings last month. 36 people died during the violence then. eNCA's senior reporter Dasen Thathiah is there. Let's find out from him what's been happening. Dasen, a very good afternoon to you. Give us an idea of what is actually happening during these raids. Where are they searching?
Well, Yuveka, this is one part of Phoenix called Trenance Park. And just a short while ago, when I was talking to our colleague Maseko, at that point, a suspect was being led out of this area by police. He's believed to be linked to those items that you're seeing behind me now. You'll see that these are police officers that are carrying out items that are suspected of being looted. From what we could see, it includes canned foods, it's cigarettes, and lots of them. They've been at this probably now for going on 30 minutes, taking items out of this house, which I think, as far as I can see here, also doubles as a shop. In fact, this is right now I see that there's also another police vehicle that is arriving, presumably to transport these items. It's just coming in off to the side of our camera. But Yuveka, this follows another incident that took place here last week, and that was how police had ended up specifically at this house. There was a gun that was recovered, and police say that that gun was linked to the gentleman that was arrested a short while ago. They say it's a stolen gun, but they also further claim that he had been intimidating police officers that were working in the area. Now, all of this is information that we had received from our sources that are close to the investigation, and this is just one of several raids that have been conducted in Phoenix. But as I was mentioning to Maseko earlier as well, is that there's a very tense mood here in that the relationship between the community and police, certainly from the people that I have spoken to here and engaged with, there seems to be a certain tension in that they say that police were not here at the time that they needed them, but now in the aftermath of the unrest, they are seeing more and more police officers and seeing raids and arrests like this one in their community.
Well, Dasen, in this case, like you say, this led police to this particular home or whatever the storage place might be, because of a gun and because there was arrest. But I'm just wondering, in terms of other raids, where else they're going to be looking, how will they tell the difference between somebody who is possibly buying this for a tuck shop or a spaza shop and whether this was actually the goods that were actually looted or stolen?
And that's the difficulty that they are going to face, because there are lots of tuck shops, not just in Phoenix, but in many of townships and areas that we have visited. You find them on almost every street corner, and many of those shops have these items in bulk. So that's where the process comes in of verification, and I mean that's what police officers have said to us repeatedly, that they take the items away and then it has to be verified. Can the owners account for those items or not? But then there's this other element as well, because you would have seen in other parts of Durban that there have been confrontations when police have been coming into communities, such as Lamontville, where there was a shooting that took place about 2 weeks ago. And that in that incident, there was a woman that was shot dead there. There are two sides of that story. The police say that the community shot at them when they had come in to do a raid similar to this one. And the community, on the other hand, says that police had just opened fire during that raid. Now, that matter is under investigation by IPID, but I'm just highlighting that to show you what some relationships are like now between communities and police officers, which makes it an extremely difficult task for the SAPS to conduct, especially when there is some kind of resistance when they are trying to recover these looted items.
And that should worry us a little, shouldn't it, Dasen? Because I mean, we already see there is so much tension. The racial tension itself seems to be sort of building every day, especially as we get numbers of what the proper death toll is, how many people have actually been arrested. It is worrying that we might see people who are actually innocent, who might now fall under suspicion, who might be arrested. And how much of this information also is actually coming from those who have been arrested or who were arrested at the time, trying to possibly make deals for themselves?
That's right. Fortunately, there have been many efforts here in Phoenix since then. We've seen a lot of activity. We've seen a lot of attention. So in the aftermath of those deaths, and those are 36 people that died in this area, there have been specific efforts to ensure that those divisions don't spread any further than they already had at that time. And in doing that, there was a peace committee that was formed. There were other community-driven efforts and also police intervention. But I think at the core of all of this, and the primary complaint, and this is in again our conversations that we've had with residents, both here on social media, and the indication is that they believe that the police inefficiency right at the beginning, resulting in communities basically having to now, so to speak, take the law into their own hands. That is where the problem is, and that is why there's a particular strain on that relationship. As we were walking up this road earlier, Yuveka, there were people that were saying to us, and I can't name the suspect, but they were naming him and saying, why is he being arrested? What has he done? And that's the kind of mood that exists here. So there is a lot of work for police to do. It's not an easy task, but nevertheless, the police minister in that briefing had said to me that despite that shooting that I'd even mentioned to you in Lamontfort, he insists that they will not back down from coming in and recovering items that they believe are looted. And what he wants is communities to play ball with police, and he says in that way it will eliminate any bloodshed.
And I suppose just based on what you've just explained this, and just how the community actually feels about police, it also leads you to wonder, do police just want to be seen to be doing something at this point? What is the use of actually taking these goods? What do you do with it? Is it, again, too little, too late, and also trying to be seen to be doing something after the fact?
And that's the sense that we get from many people, that we've been engaging with, particularly here. That is the thought process. It's a question of where were you? What are you doing here now? And I think we should be careful not to condone any forms of criminality, because that in no way means that if there are looted items or if there are guns here, that police should not be allowed to do their work. But the commentary is that because at that time, at the start of this unrest, they were looking to law enforcement to keep themselves safe, not just here, but across Durban. I mean, we were on the ground for much of that time, Yuveka, and we also saw how stretched police were right until the time that the SANDF was deployed. I mean, there were scenes where there were 100 or even 500 people that were looting buildings, and you would find one police van or two police vehicles, and that was certainly not enough. But yet, in the aftermath, you have these focused raids. But again, certainly, Yuveka, there's going to be a lot of resistance and complaints because of that question that you raised right at the start. How easy is it going to be for police, after they load all of this stuff into this vehicle and take it off, how easy is it for them to prove that those items were in fact stolen in the first place?
Well, I suppose we'll have to wait and see just how they manage this process, Dasen. But just to change tack a little bit, I mean, weeks ago we had the KZN Premier talking to us about reconciliation efforts, or projects that were underway to unify Africans and Indians in the area. Any idea how that's going?
Well, it seems to be making progress. Just last week, there was a tournament that was held between the Phoenix residents as well as other communities around here. And even in the area, there isn't, I think if you're not here or you're not from here, it's easy when you look at all of the reports and the violence and the bloodshed that took place here, it's easy to assume that Phoenix is a no-go area, which is not in fact the case. There were pockets of criminality. There were many people that lost their lives here. There were many people that went missing during that time. There was vigilantism. There were all sorts of things that went wrong. But in the aftermath of that, the community largely, not just this community, the community of Phoenix, of Bambai, Amaoti, they've certainly made a concerted effort to try to rebuild relationships. You would have also seen that churches had reached out to a woman who had alleged that her car was torched here, and a vehicle was given to her. Now, while a vehicle is not, or material items are not necessarily the answer, but there was an agreement at that event that this is a good place to be and a good step to take in rebuilding relations, because this is an area that has long been diversified in terms of its demographic.
Yeah.
There've been a number of, there's been a mixed community in probably the last 10 years or so. And both Indian and African communities here, I mean, we've heard that for ourselves, saying that they had lived in relative peace. But again, what had happened in certain parts of Phoenix had painted the entire area, had painted the entire broader community as either criminals or racists. And that is something that the communities are now working hard to change.
All right, Dasen Thathiah, thanks so much in Phoenix there as police conduct those raids for possibly firearms that were used in those days of looting, and also goods that might have been looted if those are indeed those items there that they are seizing. Well, police station